My name is Wendy Hale. I'm 31, a former Army specialist who spent more Christmases in desert outposts than around a family table. In my hometown, everyone used to say the Hales were stable, predictable people, but I was never the predictable one, not like my older siblings who stayed close. Stayed safe, stayed favored. I was the odd one out. The daughter who left. The daughter who fought a war abroad only to come home and feel like a stranger in her own bloodline. And maybe that's why the disappointment stung harder. Why a part of me already sensed something was wrong before I even set foot on my old street. I thought the worst thing waiting for me this Christmas was silence. I had no idea my dad had already sold our home, without telling me. I turned off Route 31 just before midnight. The same cracked road, the same mailbox, but the porch light wasn't on. The driveway was clear, clean. Too clean. The house looked emptied. No blinking reindeer in the front yard. No Christmas lights sagging from the gutters like usual. No wreath on the door with my mom's faded red ribbon. I cut the engine. Snow crunched under my boots as I walked up the steps. My fingers trembled slightly from the cold as I reached for the key. It didn't fit. I tried again. Angle left. Jiggle. Push. Nothing. The lock had been changed. I stepped back, scanning the windows. The curtains were gone. Furniture? Gone. Even the plant by the window, Mom's old ivy, gone. My breath caught in my throat. My boots left dark prints in the snow. That was the only mark of me here now. I fumbled for my phone. Hands shaking. Called Dad. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. I texted. Hey, I'm outside. Doors not working? Read. No reply. Then I saw it. Buried halfway in the snow under the porch steps. A metal sign with a corner bent up. I pulled it free. The plastic sheet had peeled from the cold. Sold. I stared at it like it might bite. No, no way. I opened the county clerk's website on my phone. Typed in the address. Waited. Transaction confirmed. Hale property transferred. Closed 11 days ago. Buyer. R. Corrigan. I felt the bottom of my stomach drop. I hadn't signed anything. Hadn't seen a notice. I co-signed on this house in 2018. I was still on the title. Wasn't I? The email popped in my inbox like a ghost. Transaction complete. Hale property. 5121 Florence Avenue. Attached. A PDF. I opened it. Page 2. Signature block. 2 names. One was my father's. Sloppy. Rushed. The other was mine. Except it wasn't. It was a forged version of my signature, the way I used to sign things in college. No one in my unit even knew that version. I stared at it so long my screen dimmed. Trust, I remember Mom once said, isn't broken with a scream. It's broken in silence, when you realize the door's been locked behind you. Behind me, a light flickered across the street. An old neighbor? Maybe, or someone else. I backed off the porch. My boots crunched the snow louder this time. This wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. Deliberate, and personal. That's not my signature, but someone used my name and sold my past. The motel smelled like bleach and broken promises. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I dropped my duffel on the cracked tile floor. Kicked the door shut with my boot. One lamp, one bed, one chair by the window. All sterile, all hollow. I peeled off my gloves and opened my laptop. Fingers cold, breath shallow. Pulled up the county's deed archive again. Typed fast. My name, Florence Avenue. A line blinked on screen. Cosigner, Wendy Hale. But the deed was marked, released from obligation. Date, 4 months ago. No notice, no call, no paper trail. Except, there was a form. I opened the PDF. It was a revocation of interest. Signed, dated, and not by me. I stared at the signature. The slant was too sharp. The loop in the H looked like it was drawn by someone trying to mimic. Not remember. You know that moment when reality shifts under your feet? No quake, just a cold slide. Someone had erased me. I called the records office. Put on my calm voice. Hi, I'm reviewing a property file. I think there's been a clerical error. Silence. Then a voice. Chipper. Sure, hun. Deed number? I read it. She hummed, typed. Then, a pause. Looks like everything's in order. Property was sold. Signed by both parties. System logged your revocation file July 12th. I didn't sign that, I said. I was deployed. More silence. I'd recommend contacting the real estate agent on file. She finally said, that's all we have jurisdiction over. I copied the agent's name, Laura Breckett. Northline Realty. Never heard of her. I checked the business address online. Permanently closed. Escalation. I called. Voicemail. I searched again, found a cached article from last week. Real estate fraud case tied to veteran estates, agent under investigation. The blood in my ears roared. My boots hit the floor as I grabbed my coat and keys. The air outside slapped like betrayal. I drove 10 miles to the county office. Lights off. A janitor mopped the linoleum. I flashed my veteran's card. He hesitated, then pointed to the back archive room. You've got 5 minutes. The door clicked behind me. Dust. Old cabinets. Faint smell of damp paper. I pulled drawer after drawer. Hale. Wendy. Nothing. Florence Avenue. Nothing. Corrigan. There. One folder. Slim. Just a transfer confirmation. And, taped to the back cover, a post-it, signed over via remote authorization. Verified by alternate identification. Remote. Alternate. Someone had used a fake ID. Cutscene. I sat in my car, staring out at the snow. Each flake hitting the windshield felt louder than it should. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. I answered. A man's voice. Soft. Precise. You've seen enough. Ms. Hale. Don't dig deeper. Click. No name. No threat. Just command. My thumb hovered over redial. I didn't press it. There's a line I remember from Basic. Don't push unless you're ready to be pushed back. I wasn't scared. Not yet. But I was awake now. I drove to the only place still open at 2 a.m., a diner on Ridgeview. Coffee like mud. Waitress with tired eyes and a heart-shaped name tag. Lori. I opened my laptop again. Searched every file I had from the house. Bank docs. Emails. Scanned receipts. And there it was. Buried in a subfolder I hadn't touched in years. /mom/docs/contingency_letter.pdf. I clicked it. Letterhead. A scanned signature. Subject. Contingency clause. J. Monroe Estate. J. Monroe. My mother's maiden name. The letter was never sent. She wrote it a year before her death. Addressed to any legal authority who questions the integrity of my estate. She claimed she'd been pressured into changing the deed. Named my father. Named an unknown financial liaison. Warned that, in the event of my death, this document should supersede all revisions not legally notarized in my presence. She wrote, if this reaches you, then something has been done in darkness. Bring it into the light. I leaned back. My heartbeat was in my throat. Then I noticed the timestamp on the file. Last opened, 2 days ago. Not by me. If Mom knew about this clause, then what the hell was she protecting us from? The storage unit sat on the edge of town like a forgotten bone, rusted latch. Dented door. Gravel crunching beneath my tires as I pulled in. A keypad blinked red. I punched in the code I found scribbled in Mom's contingency letter, 0724JM. It clicked open. Inside, silence, dust, cold air that tasted like metal. One hanging bulb swung overhead like a noose. A metal cabinet stood in the back, locked with a thick padlock. Beside it, a duffel bag, faded, mine. I unzipped it. Inside, my mother's wedding ring. A disposable phone. A single framed photo, me, her, and a man I didn't recognize. Military haircut. Dark eyes. He stood between us like a line drawn through time. I dropped the frame back in. Cutscene. I turned to the cabinet. It didn't budge. My heart thudded. I scanned the ceiling, no camera. I reached into my coat and pulled out a thin steel rod I kept for emergencies. 3 clicks. Twist, pop. The door swung open. Files. Tightly packed. Labeled in my mother's handwriting. Wendy, private. C. Barrett. Power of Attorney 2016. I grabbed them, hands trembling now. One folder, stamped notarized, "Do not destroy," had a legal affidavit. Sworn statement, dated 3 months before Mom died. I, Joanne Monroe Hale, declare that I was coerced into assigning power of attorney to Chandler Barrett, under pressure involving my daughter's military benefits and estate rights. I hereby retract this under legal advisement. If this document is being read, I am either dead or silenced. Dead or silenced. My mouth went dry. I flipped to the next page. A bank receipt. A wire transfer. $42 from an unknown LLC into a trust account under my father's name, marked medical reimbursement for deceased dependent. I wasn't dead. But someone got paid like I was. A noise. I froze. Outside, gravel shifted. I killed the bulb. Silence. I pressed against the sidewall. Ears straining. Boots. Slow. Heavy. A figure passed the slit between the wall and the door. I backed toward the corner, clutching the rod. Breath in. Hold. Someone tried the door. Locked. A phone buzzed outside. Male voice. "Yeah, she's inside. I'm watching." The bolt rattled. I sprinted, shoved open the side panel emergency exit. Cold air slapped my face. I bolted into the alley behind the units. Heart hammering. Gunmetal sky. My boots pounded wet concrete. I didn't look back. A car engine flared. A black SUV rolled around the corner, headlights washing over the alley. I dove behind a dumpster. Tires screeched past. They didn't see me, not yet. I waited, counted 30 seconds. Then ran. Down the alley, out to the side street. Flagged the first cab I saw. Breath sharp, hands bleeding from the fall. The driver looked back at me through cracked sunglasses. Rough night? Drive, don't ask. Got it. As we pulled away, I checked my phone. The disposable Mom left behind still had power. I pressed redial. One number. A voicemail played. "You've reached Evelyn Morse. If this is about Joanne, you're late. But if it's her daughter, then I hope you're ready. There's more than one door left to unlock." I looked out the window. Snow falling again, slower this time. She didn't just hide evidence, she hid a war one was never meant to survive. The safe house was an old 2-story off I-76. Wrapped in dying pine and radio silence. Evelyn Morse answered the door in sweatpants and a Glock tucked under her hoodie. "You look like hell," she said. "Felt like worse," I replied. She didn't smile. Cutscene. Inside, walls lined with manila folders. Obsession disguised as order. Red tape. Black ink. Decades of other people's lives. She poured black coffee and dropped a file in front of me. "Chandler Barrett," she said. "Name should have been buried years ago." I opened it. Licensing fraud. Financial coercion. Veterans targeted post-deployment. He always used intermediaries. Always had a legal scapegoat. But the same pattern. "You think he's still active?" I asked. Evelyn stared at me. "I don't think. I know." She pulled out a document. Deed transfer authorization. Barrett as financial executor. "Your mom fought this. Quietly. Smartly. She left markers, enough to reverse it if someone ever came looking." I leaned forward. "Why her?" "She blocked something," Evelyn said. "Something he wanted. You. The house. The title link." She flipped another page. Photo. Grainy surveillance still. Barrett. My father. Together. Outside a veterans legal clinic. 2 years ago. I stopped breathing. Cutscene. I left the safe house at sunset. Snow flurries skittered across the windshield. My mind buzzed louder than the engine. They knew each other. My father lied. Or worse, he believed the lie. The thought itched under my skin like a burn that never scabbed. I pulled into a gas station to breathe. Checked my phone. A new email pinged into my inbox. No subject. No sender. Attached file. W. Hale_Dodd_clearance.pdf. I opened it. It was my military personnel file. Redacted, but someone had accessed it. Tracked me, knew my ID number. My clearance code. Someone was watching. I looked up. A man across the lot. Leaning on a car, smoking, not pumping gas, not looking away. I turned off my phone. Got in the car, pulled out. Don't lead him to Evelyn. Don't go back to the motel. I turned left onto a dark county road. 2 miles down, no headlights behind me. Then a sound. Click. The glove compartment. I hadn't touched it. I opened it slowly. Inside, another USB. No label. I didn't put that there. I stopped breathing again. Cutscene. I parked under a railroad bridge. Engine off. Inserted the USB into my laptop. Folder popped up. J. Hale Estate Revision 3 inches. I opened it. Footage. My father, sitting in a lawyer's office. Across from Barrett. Timestamp. 8 months ago. Lawyer. So if Wendy's death certificate is valid, there's no contest to the liquidation? Barrett nodded. My father nodded. Silence. I heard my own breath. Shallow and hot. There it was, on tape. My father, accepting I was dead. The man who didn't even ask questions. Barrett pulled out a document. My name, my forged signature, my fate, sold for a payoff. Evelyn once told me, most lies aren't whispered, they're notarized. My hands trembled. The video cut. Black screen. One final line of text. Transfer confirmed, Christmas Eve. Why then? Why the deadline? I stared into the dark road ahead. Why the hell is Christmas Eve my deadline? The diner off Route 38 smelled like old bacon and broken dreams. Booth cushions torn, coffee burnt, a snowplow groaned by the window. I sat across from Evelyn. Documents spread between us like playing cards in a rigged game. He filed the death certificate 3 weeks after your last deployment, she said. My jaw clenched. Without a body, without a report, without a goddamn flag. Because someone paid to make it look clean, she said, tapping the printout. Barrett's LLC funneled the payment. The name on the shell company? I leaned in. Your father. Silence. My stomach turned cold, not because of the betrayal, but because it made sense. Sometimes, Evelyn said softly, the people who are supposed to protect us get tired of pretending they ever wanted to. Cutscene. Outside, I paced the lot. Snow fell heavier now. Each breath fogged the glass as I leaned against the truck, my fingers trembling. I called my father. Straight to voicemail. Dad, I said, voice flat. I know. Click. I didn't wait for a reply. 10 minutes later, I was back behind the wheel, following Evelyn's lead. She had one last name. Alma Jensen, my mom's old friend, still lived across from our old place. Evelyn said Alma reached out the night before Joanne died, said she had something Joe would never say on paper. We reached Alma's trailer by dusk. Wind rattled the siding, Christmas lights blinked, off-tempo and tired. Alma opened the door in a bathrobe, eyes sharp despite the oxygen tank. You're her, she said, the girl they tried to erase. She led us in, slow breaths rattling. I watched it happen, she whispered, the men in suits, the papers, your father crying in the kitchen like he lost a dog, not a daughter. I nodded once. You said Mom left something. Alma reached behind a cracked mirror, pulled out a flash drive in a plastic bag. She said if anything ever happened to her, this was Plan C. I took it with both hands. Inside the truck, I plugged it into my laptop. One folder. Joe Legal Temp, REV3CODEC4. Encrypted. Try the name she used on her poetry drafts, Evelyn said. I typed it. It opened. Video. Joanne, sitting on our old couch. Face pale, hands shaking. If this is being seen, she said, then I'm gone, and they won. Her voice cracked. They told me if I didn't sign the new estate revision, Wendy's benefits would be frozen. They said they had proof she leaked intel. They lied. I knew it, but they knew how to scare me. She paused. I didn't sign. I made it look like I did. I left the originals in safe storage. If you're seeing this, Wendy, you are still legally tied to the estate. You have the right to contest. You are the only one who can. Her eyes held the screen. I hope you came home brave. The video ended. Cutscene. The truck sat silent. Evelyn stared at the screen. They used military manipulation, she said. Weaponized fear. I nodded. They counted on no one digging. I stared out the windshield. The snow had stopped. Across the street, our old house. Gutted. Floodlights, construction crews, orange fencing. And a man in a black coat. I knew that silhouette. Barrett. Evelyn grabbed my arm. Wait. But I was already out the door. I crossed the street. He didn't move. Just smiled, calm, confident. You're early, he said. You're a fraud. No, he said, glancing behind me. I'm a finisher. My father stepped out from behind the porch. Pale, empty-eyed, like a man who hadn't slept since the war ended. He didn't speak. Didn't blink. Tell me you didn't know, I said. He looked at me. They said you were dead. Wendy. I stepped back. You didn't even check. They showed me papers, dog tags, a flag. I laughed, bitter, cold. You wanted me gone. No, he whispered. I just wanted peace. Barrett stepped forward. That's the thing about peace, he said. It's cheaper when no one's left to fight. If you take one step closer. Wendy, I'll finish what your mother started. The steel mill towered like a dead god in the snow. Broken windows, cold breath leaking through rusted seams. Sirens somewhere in the distance. My boots hit concrete like gunshots. Barrett was waiting near the furnace pit. Shadows dancing across his face. He didn't flinch. He didn't blink. My father stood behind him, silent. Pale, holding something under his coat. I raised my voice. It's over. Barrett smiled. That's the thing about ghosts. Wendy, you can't bury them, but you can monetize their silence. I stepped closer. My heartbeat matched the thrum of machinery still groaning below. My mother left the real documents. I've already sent them to 3 attorneys. You lose. He tilted his head. If that were true, you wouldn't be here. My father looked at me. His lips moved. I thought you were gone. You made that easy, I said. Silence split the air. Tell me you didn't know, I whispered. I knew something was off, he said, voice cracking, but I wanted the quiet more than the truth. Barrett pulled a switch from his coat. The lights above flickered, then roared to life. Blinding. A mechanical growl echoed down the mill. 4 more men stepped from the shadows. Gloves, earpieces, private security. You've got 10 minutes, Barrett said. Hand over the originals. Walk away, or this place becomes your memorial. I smirked. You still think I brought the files here? Cutscene. Sirens flared again, louder. Closer. Red-blue light bled through shattered windows. Barrett's men moved, confused. What did you do? He snapped. I pulled the earpiece from my coat. Ever heard of Evelyn Morse? You should have erased her too. Boom. Side entrance. Federal agents poured in. Yells. Weapons drawn. Chaos detonated like fire through oil. Barrett lunged. He grabbed my arm, hard, jerked me toward the catwalk above the pit. We fought. Elbow, shoulder, knee. Steel groaned under us. One wrong move. We'd fall straight into the belly of the mill. He slammed me into a beam. My vision blurred. You don't deserve the truth. He spat. I don't need to deserve it. I rasped. I only need to outlive you. I swept his leg. He stumbled. The railing cracked. Barrett grabbed a loose cable, desperate, dangling above blackness. I looked down at him. And I let go. He fell. Silence swallowed the sound. Cutscene. Officers flooded the floor. One grabbed my arm. You good? I nodded once. Your father? He asked. I turned. My dad hadn't moved. He sat on the edge of a crate. Hands on his knees, staring at nothing. He signed a false death certificate. I said. Will he testify? I don't know, but he'll never sleep the same again. Outside, snow painted the ground white again. Evelyn stood near a patrol car, arms crossed, nodding. I approached her slowly. It's done, I said. It's never done, she replied, but sometimes, you win one round. I looked back at the building. The smoke rising, the night still echoing. He tried to turn silence into currency. I said, but my mom left me the only inheritance that mattered. Evelyn raised a brow. What's that? The truth, no matter how ugly it is. We stood there for a moment. You going back? She asked. To the house? She nodded. I exhaled. I'll buy it back, brick by brick, but not for nostalgia, I said. I'll buy it so no one else has to grow up afraid of who they become when the people who raised them never knew how to love them right. We drove away as the snow began to fall harder. A new file arrived on my phone. The final deed, reinstated, my name, untampered. Legally whole. Emotionally, still stitching. They thought Christmas Eve was my deadline. But it was the day I finally came home.